this corner across the street right here, this was the location for the Barton Opera House.
Oh yeah.
It was built in 1890. It had 1,600 seat capacity. At the time it was built, it was $150,000, and it was built by Fresno vineyardist Robert Barton, and had a plush interior, and that's the next picture there too, so she can tell you. Show you. It featured many small electric lights along the small high dome ceiling and lushly decorated box seats. Celebrated actors who played in this theater were John and Ethel Barrymore, Douglas Fairbanks Sr., George M. Cohan, Sarah Bernhardt, Billy Burke, she's the one who's Glinda in the Wizard of Oz, and Maude Adams. So some very, very well-known actors of the time played here at the Barton Theater. Now, part of the Barton Theater, on this section where we're standing, is where the Armory Hall was. That was on the second floor. And that was a meeting place for California National Guard units. And the building also housed a grocery store, a wholesale liquor business, Robert Barton's office, and a bicycle shop. Now, in 1909, Lewis Corey bought the Barton building, and the section that housed the Armory then was demolished. And he built this building in its place in 1914, 1915. It's basically the same building today, but it was heavily remodeled in 1987. The section with the Barton Opera House is basically the parking lot that you see there. And so, but at that time it was remodeled by Corey in 1917, and it went through many different changes over the years. It was always a theater for some time. Theater Fresno, and then later the Hippodrome was here. And that was raised in 1928, and a new theater building, the State, Esquire, Sequoia, Town Theaters, a number of different theaters were in that location. It was torn down in 1979, and again, what we have today is a parking lot. That's a beautiful, beautiful building at the time when it was built.
Oh, and then it became Ruth Atkins, are we there?
Oh yes, and we talk about Ruth Atkins, which had been further down the street, had then changed also. So that was the Corey building for some time. It was the Ruth Atkins department store as well.
Mall was being built in '64.
Yeah, so this is about the time of the mall when it was taken out as the Ruth Atkins. You can still see pretty much the same building there today. All right. Okay. So
All right.
I think
we don't need to move. We're going to stay right here.
Stay there?
And talk about this beautiful Matai building, or Guaranteed Savings and Loan building. Let me just pull out my mouse here. Bear with me. All right, so this location has a long history in Fresno. In the 1880s, it was the first, 1877, it was Fresno's first public water company. These were the water tanks that developed on the spot, right there. It had a few other incarnations. It was the Winchell building. Different pieces of the property were sold, like the first 100 feet, these 50 feet. Then they were all bought back to eventually build the building. These are the water tanks. It was called the Fresno Fulton building. The Bank of America was in there in 1936. It was originally built by Andrew Matai, a Swiss-Italian immigrant who had a vineyard and a lot of land, 1,200 acres near Fowler. He grew wine, grapes, that kind of thing. Apparently he won a lot of prizes at the 1915 Panama Pacific exhibition in San Francisco for his wine and grapes. The construction began in 1919 and it was completed in 1921. It's 12 stories. He had a conflict with San Joaquin Light and Power, so they didn't get along. He didn't want their power, so he had a generator in the basement that provided power and steam for a bunch of other places like Hotel Fresno and the Kinema Theater, and was able to sell the power from his own generator enough so that he could power his whole building for free. It's like evened out for him, so it's really kind of interesting, that little tidbit. In 1961, Fresno Guarantees Savings and Loan bought it. They did extensive alterations to the bottom floors. They had the first 3 floors in the basement, and so those ones are not original. It was designed by Eugene Mathewson, He did the Matai, the Mason, which we'll see, and here's my note about the City Hall. So the 1905 City Hall, Eugene Mathewson. He also did several residences in town. He was known as an eccentric, dashing, and colorful person. He would speed around in his National Roadster and had a bull terrier named Thunder. So he's one of our wonderful eccentric architects here in town. There it is. Oh, here's the great lit up picture with the clock actually on.
We all know about the G changing colors with the weather forecast, right? So you could you could look at the G and know whether it was going to rain or be hot. So or whatever.
Do you know what color they were?
I don't remember the colors. There was like an orange color and a green color.
That's great.
Supposedly that was there for the farmers too, because the farmers from all around the area can see it.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if there's going to be a frost or what the
It's a citizenship and immigration services in there.
Pacific Southwest at the Frost Beacon.
I've always been told that it was the G.
Interesting. I'm like, my research might only be partial.
They did a lot of farm loans, so that was our service back to the farm.
Cool.
Right. And in the 90s, I went to the 9th floor, and it was an illegal farming operation. Indoor, yeah. I always wondered how they could afford to have a 100% vacant building in here, but it wasn't 100% vacant. Yeah.
So this building we have, see right here, the immigration attorneys, this is actually what this looked like in 1930. Could you hold it up again?
Oh my God.
This was the building that existed at the time. It was the Helm Block, it was called.
We just discovered this like yesterday.
Yeah.
We were kind of so
Fantastic
excited
building.
and mind blown at such a cool building.
Right on this footprint.
Oh my gosh.
And then over the years, if we can do the next, this one, if you can show them that.
Maybe
oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I can. yeah, that's it. Thank you.
I don't have enough.
So in later years, this became like Edmonds and Thrifty Drugs was here. And so again, this is what the corner. Yeah, go ahead.
You can see how the Edmund sign starts covering up the historical architecture on the Helm blocks. It was the beginning of
So it still was the Helm Block, but this was during the 60s that it was starting to change. And I don't know when it was torn down, but obviously this is not the original. So we're going to just walk a little bit because a lot of the smaller stores, I'm just going to briefly touch on. We're not going to stop until we get to the larger ones down here. But we will continue on, and I'm going to lose my cards again here.
Do you want me to hold
I'm going to lose my cards. No, I got it. Yeah. All right, so let's move forward.
Things will
Excuse me.
eventually